All right, guys, so today we're going to talk about simplicity. Some of you know this, but if you don't, simplicity is a mental model. I talk about mental models on the channel all the time. Basically, a mental model is a frame or perspective at which you view a situation or your business. So, for example, you look at everything through the frame of simplicity. The end goal is you want to keep things simple. Okay, so that's what a mental model is. So with simplicity, the key is to do fewer things better. So instead of trying to be everything to everyone, you want to have a handful of products or a handful of services in your niche, and you want to focus on those few things that you offer, and you want to be the best at those things. Instead of trying to offer a ton of things to a ton of different people, you really want to narrow down. So focus and simplicity go hand in hand, because when you focus or when you simplify, you're basically just narrowing your focus down. So what we're going to touch on are some of these quotes here. So simplicity is the ultimate sophistication. That's what Leonardo da Vinci said. Now, with that, simplicity is really an art, because on the back end in a lot of businesses, you're dealing with tons of complexity. So for instance, Apple, they're dealing with tons of software engineering. They're dealing with manufacturing engineering. They're dealing with tons of logistics on the backside. But when the product is finished and it's in the store, it's a simple product. Apple is notorious for having products that are easy to use. And that goes along with the name Apple, the name of the products, iPad, iPhone, MacBook. They keep things simple so that it's memorable, so that it's easy to remember, and they stand out from the competition. And that's the key. You want to focus. You want to narrow your focus down. You want to simplify, and then do the best you can. It's about doing fewer things better instead of doing a ton of things average. So a great example of doing fewer things better would be Dave Thomas. So he said that it all comes back to the basics with a good restaurant. Good food, or good quality food, and at a good value, at a good price basically, in a clean, comfortable restaurant. Now, Dave Thomas founded Wendy's. Okay. And this is a perfect example of how so many people go into a business or go into a restaurant, and the last thing they focus on is the quality of the food. And he's saying that's the most important thing. And it obviously is if you just think about it. It's common sense, but people don't apply these things. So you don't have to complicate it. Now, that's not going to be easy. It's not going to be easy to create really good food, but it's not going to be complicated. Easy, simple doesn't mean easy, but it doesn't have to be complicated. So one other quote I want to talk about before we get into comparing Apple and Dell is this quote from Michael Jordan. So Michael Jordan was interviewed back during his heyday, like right after he retired, and they asked him, the interviewer said, "How did you become the best basketball player?" He said, "Well, the only thing I did was focus on the fundamentals. I became the best at the fundamentals: shooting, dribbling, passing." He said that I was the best, and he didn't complicate it. Yeah, that's not easy to do. He spent tons of hours in practice, but there's so many people that try to make it more complicated than it is, and they get beyond the basics. They try to add things to the basics, to the fundamentals that don't really carry the weight that the fundamentals carry. So just focus on simplifying your business down. Focus on your key products, your products that drive the most revenue, your marketing that drives the most sales, and try to eliminate everything else. So first thing we're going to look at here is the value of Dell versus the value of Apple. Okay, so Apple's considered the most valuable tech company in the world. They're fourth on the Fortune 500 list, and they're killing Dell when it comes to revenue. Now, why is this? So Dell, obviously, they're in a ton of different niches. Apple has established themselves as the best, the highest quality when it comes to a personal home computer. All right, so Dell, their approach is to offer a ton of products to a ton of different people. And we're going to talk about that in a second. They offer so many products, it's crazy. And you can see they're doing well, $75 billion annually. But you can see how simplicity can set you apart even at the very top. These two companies are at the top as far as like companies in the entire world. But even then, Apple has this huge edge over Dell because they've decided to focus and simplify and not be everything to everyone. So we're going to talk really quickly about the products that Apple offers versus the products that Dell offers. So as far as the laptops go, that's all we're going to talk about right now. But Dell, they offer over 75 laptops. Now Apple, they only offer 6. Okay, the difference here, Apple essentially has decided to do fewer things better. So when you narrow your focus and you offer a handful of products, but you're the best at those products, then according to this, you're going to do way better than your competitors that try to offer a ton of different things. Okay, just like Dave Thomas said, it only takes 3 things to make a really good restaurant. You don't have to have a mariachi band, and you don't have to have a volcano in the center of your restaurant. It takes good food in a good, comfortable restaurant at a good price. And so when you focus on the fundamentals and you offer a handful of products or a handful of services and you're the best at those, then you're going to beat out your competition. And then take another example of this would be, so 75 products that Dell is presenting to the market, that's the opposite of simplicity. And what happens is the products that they offer, they kind of get lost in the mix. You don't really know what they offer because they offer so many things. But it's funny because everyone has heard of an iPad or an iPhone or a MacBook because that's all they've got. That's all Apple offers. And so when they communicate that in their marketing, it's very easy to remember. It's very simple. So that's one of the major benefits of keeping your services to a minimum, keeping your products to a minimum, because when you talk about what you have to offer, and when you run ads and you market your business, you want people to remember it. And if you say, hey, come buy my product, I have 75 different versions, people aren't going to remember that. But if you say, hey, I've got one thing, it's called the iPad. It's like, okay, if it's good, because quality is king, then people are going to remember it. And people are going to buy it and they're going to tell their friends. And so you want to keep it simple and you want to focus your efforts so that the quality is there. And that leads us into the 80-20 principle. So I'm going to do an entire video on this, but I do want to touch on it. So the 80-20 principle is a mental model, just like simplicity. Basically, it states that 20% of your efforts give you 80% of your results. Okay, so the 20% in most cases, in business, in sports, whatever, are the fundamentals, the basic things. So like in basketball, passing, dribbling, shooting, like Michael Jordan said, are the things that gave him the best results. They made him the best player there was. Okay, so in business, it would be sales, marketing, value creation, value delivery, and finance. Focusing on those 5 things, you're going to be a great business. And I'm quoting the personal MBA on that. So if you haven't read it, I suggest reading it. It's a great book. But essentially what you want to do is you want to find which products, which services give you 80% of your results. And you want to eliminate the rest. You want to eliminate everything outside of that. Same with marketing. So your marketing. If you're marketing on YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook, based on the 80-20 principle, or if you don't know it by that, it's called the Pareto principle. 80% of your results are coming from one of those platforms. Okay, so essentially what you want to do is you want to eliminate the other 2, and you want to go all in. The key here is to dominate. You don't want to be average at a bunch of different things. You want to pick something and dominate. So you want to pick a product or a service that's in your niche, that's very specific, and you want to dominate. You want to be the best at that. And then when you market it online, you want to choose 1 or 2 platforms, and you want to be the best. You want to stand out on those platforms. So that's what the 80-20 principle is. It all goes hand in hand with simplicity and focus, and it all plays together. So to recap here, what you want to do, you want to narrow your focus. You want to keep things simple. Okay, you want to always strive for simplicity. You may deal with a lot of complexity on the back end, but you want to strive for simplicity. And when you're marketing, when you choose which social media platform to market on, I suggest picking just one. Don't try to do 2, 3, or 4. Pick one and go all in with that and dominate it. And I promise if you ever decide to move to another platform, it'll be extremely easy. Okay, and I'm going to be talking about some of these, some other ways to market on these other social media channels. And I'm going to talk about other mental models. That's coming. The email coaching is about to come out. And I'm also going to be releasing the entry-level marketing course, so look for that. And I will catch you guys in the next video.